him from the yard.
This is Don the Diecast Pirate. Today I have for you my car that I'm going to be building for Jay's Diecast Creations, Pink Slip Drags, and we're going to turn this thing into the rubber duck. Let's throw it up on the turntable and we'll talk about it. Alright, so the rubber duck, if you don't know what that is, if you've ever seen Roadkill or Finnegan's Garage on YouTube, Mike Finnegan bought a 1967 yellow Firebird drag car and named it the Rubber Duck. And that car had sat in a barn beside a drag strip for I don't know how many years before he bought it. You know, and if you go check that out, they ended up road tripping it all the way from Georgia out to, I think, California, and raced it against David Freiberg's Crusher Camaro, which is another iconic yellow car. But we're going to do our best. Now, he has it running without the hood on it, so that's why I chose this casting. But yeah, let's get this thing taken apart and see what we're working with. I do have another car, another casting that we may use as parts for this one. We'll have to see how it goes. Alright, let's get it taken apart. Alright, so this is the car we're starting with. This is the parts car that we may use some of this off of. I'm not sure. I went ahead and drilled both cars just in case. And the reason is because on the Rubber Ducky, it doesn't have this valance under the front. It just has this stock front end. So this base would provide that for this car, if we can use it. I don't know yet. Let's take it apart and see what we have. And this one is a metal base, so this is a plastic base. But let's take a look at the car we're building first. Okay, so metal base, like I said, we'll have to take a look at which one we're going to use. Let's go ahead and pop this one off. Alright, so we can compare as we're disassembling this. So that right there, I think the main thing is this. Okay. So because this car is narrower, this base is narrower there, it feels like this one would go in the back without changing anything. It's just not going on that front post because it's a little too big right now. But that would definitely work if we need it to as far as that goes. This one, if I would decide to use this with this casting at another time, I would have to cut the interior because they're basically the same width, where the interior piece is running into the part that the axle's in. So that's really all I'm interested in from that one. So here's the interior. Oh, okay. And then we have the glass. Alright, now actually there was one other thing. So we'll set this interior aside. I don't think... Alright. Lose my train of thought. What I'm kind of thinking is this. If this glass will work in this car, and we'll probably have to trim it because this one has that slot that goes down in there, and if we put this on there, that won't work. So we'll have to trim this front part off. I'm looking at this because it's clear glass, and the actual rubber duck doesn't have tinted glass. Obviously, it has clear glass, so we want to go with the clear glass on this car. And then, okay, so this is what I'm really excited about, because by looking at this, I thought this was going to be metal, but it's plastic. It's part of the interior. So this is excellent. I'm going to have to very carefully dissect this and remove this engine. I'll try to leave the master cylinder and come from the inside out. This motor is going to get destroyed, so it's not like I can save it for anything else anyway. But since the radiator is part of the casting, don't know what I did with that box. I have a 3D printed engine from Grizz at Bearcat 3D Designs, and that's the engine we're going to use for this. The only thing that I don't have is the correct hood scoop. Not hood scoop, the correct scoop that goes over the top of the dual carbs. And so I'm either going to have to fabricate that out of styrene or see if I can design one and 3D print it. And then, and I know these wheels are not exact, but they're the closest thing I have to what's on the actual car, so this is what we're going to use on it. And I think those would be a lot easier to try to make work with this plastic base than the metal one. So, yeah. We'll get the post prepped and drilled and tapped, and we'll get everything cleaned up and come back for the next step. Okay, so just back from the sink, got everything cleaned up, stripped down. Yeah, we got 100% paint removal on this. And it's getting late tonight. I'm going to come back to this tomorrow. I was just getting ready to put this down for the night, and I decided to go ahead and fit this together. Like I said, I am going to have to trim the front of this glass to fit. This plastic base, the back goes in just fine like it did when I was first setting it in there. But when I put the front in, it's not going up far enough. And what I noticed is this post gets fatter right there. Right there. And this is not going on far enough, so I'm going to have to make this hole bigger so it goes over the post. So we'll get that taken care of in tomorrow. So, alright. I'll be back. Alright, so I couldn't let it rest. I had to find this stuff tonight. Here is the stuff that I bought from Grizz. There was some bearings, some gasser suspension pieces and whatnot that I got from him. And here's this motor with different intakes and exhaust manifolds and headers and things you could do with that. You could have an LS intake, it looks like, or you could do a 2-carb setup with it. Those are valve covers. So you got looks like shorts and tall Chevy symbol on them, the bow tie. We're not going to be well, we might use the headers. We'll take a look at that. I'll probably try to fit these headers to the engine that I'm going to use. And then I have all these other intakes that I got from him. And then there's a 2-carb we might use. No. Well, we'll have to wait and see. But then I have this whole motor that I got from him, and it has the blower on it, but it's the wrong blower. And I've never even taken any of these out of the bag. I bought bags. Bought these from him months ago. So here's this engine. So it has valve covers. It has the blower pulley on it and distributor. I got the pictures up on my computer right now. I'm looking over at them. So on top of this supercharger is the 2 carbs, right? So this is made to sit down on it, and on the actual rubber duck, it sits up on top of the carbs. So I'm going to have to use 2 carbs out of here, and then I'm going to have to come up with the correct scoop for it. So alright, so this is where I've gotten to. I really didn't show the modifications on camera because it was really quite messy. Now again, like with the set of wheels that I used on that Mercury wagon that I made, one of them broke. So this is where we are with the interior piece. I got the engine all cut out. I left the master cylinder there. I was thinking about cutting this scoop off and making another one. I'm not going to do that now. We'll come up with some kind of story to spiel it. I think what we're going to end up doing is saying that we stole this from Mike Finnegan, and we changed the scoop so nobody would and put a spoiler on the back so nobody would recognize it. Whoop. Drop the wheels there. So what I did on the back here is I took the disc on the Dremel, the mini cutoff wheel here, that mini death wheel, as they call it on Roadkill, the death wheel, and made this groove here. So now when I put these wheels in, I don't have to make any type of tube or anything for them. They're just going to roll, right? And then the front ones, I had this axle, and I did have to cut these wheels off shorter, the hubs on the inside. The first one went in with no problems. I actually had to take my Leatherman and push the axle in. And then on the other side, when I went to put it in, the wheel actually broke. So we're going to use some super glue and see if we can put this back together. If not, it should work if I don't lose it, since I'm dropping things. On that one I used on that wagon, it was still attached on one part. So this presents a unique challenge, because on that one I was just able to add some glue and glue it back in place without it moving around. I have to think about this a little bit. I may need to, and same thing here, put the groove in. Now on this motor, I ground down the bottom of the oil pan to make it fit, and I had to angle the back a little bit, and I had to shave off some of this valve cover to clear the master cylinder. And so what we get is this, and I also cut off the front of this window, so that fits now. I was looking at possibly opening this up so the oil pan on the motor would show through, and I just thought, you know what, that's too much work for the amount of time that I have to do this. so I decided not to. But with this axle in, and you can't just set the interior in there and place the motor because the come on, put it together there. The cowl on the casting itself sticks forward. So when that goes in, so right now there's nothing holding that axle, right? It can go anywhere. But when we put this motor in, that, if I can get it where it needs to be, that slot, and I may have to move that back some. See, to me the motor still sits too high. And what am I looking at? I think I do need to move that slot back some. It's too far forward for where it's sitting. But when I get this in there, it's hitting just too far forward. It's sitting like right there. And I need the notch to be back so it sits on the axle. So with it sitting right there, the motor's sitting up too high and it needs to drop down just a little more. I think if I get that to drop down where I want it, I'm gonna try putting this together one more time and just double checking this fit. So once this is all painted and we go to do the assembly, see, the way this is working out is I need to have the body and base and interior all together before I put the motor in, right? It's just the way it works. I'm not going to put a screw up through to hold the motor. So now, see, now if I shift it that way, that notch fits just perfect. But then the angle of the motor is wrong. So I see where it's hitting right there. I'll take a file and see if we can open that up some more. Just right here. And I'm using the flat side against the the master cylinder there, so it's not gonna file that away. I may need to use that other side there just a little bit. Right there in the corner. Let's see what that does. Oh, the glass is still in there. Okay. And I took a drill bit and opened up that hole too. So, oh, I forgot to put the axle in. Now, in all actuality, so I cut off the parts on the interior that were there that held the original axle in to make room for the new motor. Actually, and now see, it's still. If I get that notch over the axle, the back of the motor, see, I think it needs to ride a little farther forward. So let's go ahead and open that up some. Alright, let's see how this fits. Alright, that's looking good to me. Now is that motor straight? And that's the other thing, is that motor sits in crooked. I think we're still hitting too much on this valve cover. And I've also decided, well, I haven't decided to not use the headers, but just like a real car, I don't see how those are going to fit in there, and I don't think it's going to really add anything. Okay, just looking here. Alright, so I think now I'll see. What are we looking at there? I think that if I can, when I go to assemble it, if I can get that engine sitting exactly where I want. Once that's locked in place, that's going to be perfect. So I have to get this cleaned up and ready for paint. What I may do is go ahead and drill a hole and put a screw in so I can attach one of my one of these to it for painting. I suppose I could just do it like that, but I don't want the red to show at all. So this is going to have to get cleaned up so we can paint that. Like I said, I think I'm going to put a hole right there with this and stick a screw in it just so I have something to hold on to. See if we can fix this wheel without too many problems. Then we'll come back when we're ready for paint. Okay, so upon further review, having the motor hold the axle in the center is going to make it wobbly. So I'm going to cut some pieces of styrene to fit in front and behind the axle. And then I'll make a piece that'll go over top of it on each side. So that'll keep it where it needs to be. I'm going to do that off camera. Because I have a feeling I'm going to have way too much footage as it is. And I don't want to have more than I always have more than I need, but sometimes less is more, if you know what I mean, as far as making videos, because then I don't have to take as much time to edit and the video will not end up as long. I'm trying to add more things that I'm showing what I'm doing, and some of my videos have been going drastically longer than I would intend them to be. But we're going to see if we can work on... I like the live premieres to be around 30 minutes. I don't always hit that mark. Sometimes they're shorter, sometimes they're longer. Just so we can have enough time to hang out and chit-chat. So, yeah, we'll see how it goes. All right. Alright, so what I've come up with is I cut these squares that fit in front and behind the axle, and then I had a thinner square, and I don't know what the thicknesses are on these styrenes without pulling my stock out and seeing what the sizes are, just to give you an idea. I don't even know if that's showing up on camera. It may be too bright, but it's a little thicker. And then I went with the thinner stuff for the next square. And then these pieces right here are the ones that are on top right there, and they fit flush with the base. And then with the axle in place, this piece will go right over top, and the axle will be able to turn. So I'm going to get these super glued in, and yeah. And obviously I'm not going to take, I mean I could, but I don't want to take these tires off of this axle. So when that final piece goes in, I'll have the axle in place. So, alright. Here we go, without the engine in. It's a roller. Alright. Awesome. I'm going to go with the Redline Shop yellow enamel, match for 70s and 80s Hot Wheels on this one. We'll see how that looks. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm proud to present to you the Rubber Duck. Let's get it up on the turntable and take a look at it. Alright, so the Rubber Duck, if you don't know what that is, if you've ever seen Roadkill or Finnegan's Garage on YouTube, Mike Finnegan bought a 1967 yellow Firebird drag car and named it the Rubber Duck. And that car had sat in a barn beside a drag strip for I don't know how many years before he bought it. Alright, so here it is. So first to tell you what I did, I stripped that, take the car apart, stripped it, cut that LS motor out of it, took this 3D printed motor from Grizz over at Bearcat 3D Designs, and we modified it and made it fit down in the car the way it's supposed to. The back axle fit right in, and the only thing I had to do is cut the groove out so it fits down in the base farther. The front axle, same deal, but I had to make some supports to keep it in place because it was getting wobbly when I put the engine in to hold it in place. So then we painted the car yellow. This is the 80s enamel paint. It's from the Redline shop, color match to the yellow from Mattel for the 70s and 80s enamel paint cars. This would be the same color that I'm going to put on the Maxi Taxi when I restore that. I don't know if you can see it there in the background. This car right here when I do the restoration on that. So I started blacking out the core support. And I should have looked at pictures first. If you look at the pictures of the actual car, like the shroud that goes over the radiator is black, and then the rest of it coming forward is body color. I had already put the black on. Okay. So we did take some liberties with this. A couple of things. I was going to change the scoop to match the original car. I did not do that. Just because is mainly because I needed to get the car done and also wanted some days to relax after work. So that's what it comes down to. And I left the spoiler on the back. I was going to go ahead and cut that off, and I was cringing about it because I thought if I took it off and then I gouged out the body too much, I was just, you know what, you can't be afraid of stuff. But I didn't want to experiment on this car with that because I would have had to cut the lines in for the trunk. So I just left it on the car. So we did that. These are green light wheels from some wheel pack that I bought a long time. I bought several packs of them. You've seen these on a couple other cars. That wagon that I did and sent to Robin, that Mercury wagon, had these. The T-Bird Gasser has them, and now this car. I think I have, I'm not sure how many more sets of these. But what it comes down to is when I looked at the wheels on the real car, this is the closest thing that I had. And they're not completely accurate. Now, that broken one, I did use some Ultra Gel Control super glue. And I put it on the hub. I set the wheel on there, and it stayed. When I was trying to fit it, without the glue, it was just falling right through. But it stayed. And then I went over it with the Molotov pen after it dried because it turned really white. So then we detailed this out. Painted the center of the steering wheel flat aluminum. The seat belts. I hand painted the engine Tamiya flat black. I went over everything flat black, and then I went back in with the Tamiya flat aluminum and went over the top of the master cylinder, the valve covers, the heads, the intake, the supercharger, the scoop, and also the pulleys. And I left the belt black. Also did the roll cage in the flat silver. Molotov pen chrome on the bumpers. The flat black Tamiya in the grill. And then I touched each headlight with a metallic silver Sharpie. Did the trim around all the windows. I'm really happy with how thin that came out. Some of the other cars I've done that very thick, and this one I was able to get a very thin covering with the Molotov, and I was super happy about that. Touched each of the door locks and the door handles, and then put the car back together. I had to cut the screws, they were too long, and then also on the bottom I went ahead and used the flat aluminum to detail the bottom. But I didn't make it perfect because this is a drag car. So, and you'll see a little bit in there where some of the black got down, and I don't know. I tried to get it. I tried to go over it with the Molotov, and it didn't get it. And I don't know if I can go back in and address that or not. I might go in there. I might take a little dab of yellow paint and go over that or something, or I don't know. We'll see. I'm gonna touch that up. I went in with there's a red Tamiya color that I got, and I went over. I put it in with a toothpick and tried to wipe it off with the little mini Q-tips that I have, and it worked somewhat. I have to work on these indented taillights on some of these castings, getting the finish cleaner. But yeah, I am really happy about this. So obviously, here's going to be the story. Okay. So right now, I know, watching Instagram, that Mike Finnegan's working on the blasphemy. So he's not paying attention to the rubber duck. It's off in the corner. It's off to the side somewhere. So we went and we borrowed it. And then we're going to take it over to Jay's Diecast Creations, and we're going to run it for pinks. So this is headed over there. You will see this car on his channel. And I'm so thankful to be part of this. And thank you all for watching. Got some stuff coming up. Got Diecast International Builders, Rat Rods on the 5th of February. We have the Love Boat build on the 14th. March is Mercedes on the 5th of March. April is the Autism Awareness build. And then May we have trucks, pickup trucks. So any pickup truck you want to make. You want to make it a low, you want to make a high, whatever you want to do. You get Ford, Chevy, Dodge, whatever. So, yeah. So that's it. Appreciate all you guys. Thanks for also the support. We're almost to 600. Let's get there and move on to 1,000. I'm really excited to see the growth on the channel, and I appreciate all you guys and all of you guys that watch me on YouTube and on Instagram. I really appreciate it. So thanks for watching. If you're not subscribed, please consider subscribing. Leave a comment down below. Click the like button and ring the bell for notifications. As always, this is Don the Diecast Pirate. I'll see you next time.